Conservation agriculture is a farming system that conserves, improves, and makes more efficient use of natural resources through integrated management of water, soil, plants, or crops. The three fundamental principles of conservation agriculture are minimum soil disturbance, permanent soil cover, and crop rotation. Each of the principles can serve as an entry point to conservation agriculture. However, only the simultaneous application of all three principles results in full benefits. Conservation agriculture covers a wide range of agricultural practices based on no-till or reduced tillage. These require direct planting of crop seeds into cover crops or mulch. Weeds are suppressed by mulch and/or cover crops and need to be further controlled either mechanically, removed by hand, or through herbicide application.
My name is Henry Mwiti.
My name is Henry Mwiti. I'm a small-scale farmer who has land situated in Laikipia County, which is just adjacent to the foots of Mount Kenya. The main challenge that I normally encounter when doing farming in this area is in the manner in which the rains are distributed over the year. Maybe you can experience 2 or 3 weeks of very heavy rains, and maybe you go for 2 or 3 months of dry spell. So by the time the rains come back again, the crop might have died out or the production could have gone down very much, so that you end up having a total crop failure in that particular year. That's why I decided to enter into conservation agriculture, which is friendlier to that kind of environment, as you're able to conserve enough moisture in the soil until the next rains come back, and by doing so, you're assured of at least having something to harvest at the end of the season. Let me show you the difference between conventional and conservation agriculture. The practice here is conventional farming. You can see the quality of the maize, the size, and the expected yield, which can be seen by the size of the maize, which is maybe 1.5 foot. You can see the color is not very dark green. This color shows that there are not enough nutrients in the soil. Also, the soil is very exposed to sunlight, leading to moisture loss very quickly. And here you can see the compaction of conventional farming, whereby the water loss is very high and water infiltration is very little. To compare, you can now have a look at this plot under conservation agriculture. You can see the quality of the maize and automatically the expected outcome of the yield. This is the same variety, planted at the same time, and it's just a meter that's bordering the two plots. All this difference that you can see is a result of operation.
You may think you are in a forest.
You may think that you're in a forest, but just realize that you're in a maize field that's under conservation agriculture. I, being a tall guy, I can hardly reach the cob. Now I just want to demonstrate to you how a beginner can start changing from conventional to conservation agriculture.
Conventional to conservation agriculture.
We're assuming now in the plot behind me that it's a bare plot where you have harvested your previous crop, and now in this season you want to start practicing conservation agriculture. Bearing in mind that we don't need to disturb the soil very much. Remember, I spoke earlier about 3 principles of conservation agriculture, that is, minimum soil disturbance, permanent soil cover, and crop rotation. Here we are beginning with the land preparation.
The first step is that you can see there is some weed.
The first step is, you can see, there's some weed growing, and we need to suppress that weed. Instead of using the plow, we use herbicide that will suppress all the already growing weed. After applying the chemical, you have to wait for 1 week, so that all the weed can die. Now you come with your animals and you start ripping or subsoiling your land. In this operation, you can use 2 different types of equipment. One is the ripper, where the soil's not very compacted.
So it's a special equipment.
It's a special type of equipment that's attached to a victory plow. It has a broad tine, which is made from high-carbon steel to avoid it from breaking or bending. But if there's a lot of compaction, then you need to attach the subsoiler to your frame, so that you acquire the required depth. You just need to use the subsoiler in the first year, and probably in the following second year.
Maybe in the following second year. And the advantage of
The advantage of these types of equipment is that they only open the line. They will expose no soil on top of the surface. It's very important when opening those lines. Put in mind the recommended spacing of that particular crop that you're going to plant. After ripping my plot, I come with manure for fertility and also to improve the soil structure, especially when introducing it to the first season to conservation agriculture.
The first season to conservation agriculture.
After finishing the manure application is when I come up with my planter and I start planting the field. It's well-designed equipment that's meant for planting and applying chemical fertilizer at the same time. By using this equipment, you can plant different seeds of different sizes, from lab, beans, maize. The seed falls just after the fertilizer falls to the furrow. So you just need to put them in the seeding chamber, and now you have to come up with the fertilizer. You need to use artificial fertilizer for a new plot where you're starting conservation agriculture. Immediately after ripping, and probably before the onset of the rains, you should come with your planter. You can follow those lines which have already been ripped.
Those lines which have already been ripped.
Dry planting is very advantageous because during the very wet season, especially with the black cotton soil, then you can experience a lot of blockage. The tube of the fertilizer and the tube of the seeds can be blocked very easily. With dry planting, you're able to work a bigger area. And remember, if you come with your animals during the wet season, then you're compacting your land. After a 4-year time period with conservation agriculture, you don't need to do any ripping. You don't need to apply a lot of herbicide because most of the weed will have been suppressed by the mulch. It's just a matter of planting directly using your direct animal-drawn planter. When the land is not very mulched, you can use the wheel. But when there's a lot of mulch, you need to change and put on a coulter. If you can get enough mulching material that you can apply or cover your land with, then that mulching material will suppress the already growing weed, and by doing so you will have avoided the costs of chemicals. And also, remember, chemicals are not very friendly to humans and also to the environment. But if you cannot get enough mulching material, the last option is using chemicals. Mulching adds more advantages to your plot by encouraging the existence of microorganisms. So if you can get mulching material, it's the best. When you compare conservation agriculture with conventional agriculture, the cost of production is reduced drastically. When producing 1 acre of maize using the conventional method, you have to spend 27,900 Kenyan shilling. And when doing conservation agriculture, you only use 11,400. The main difference is noticed especially during the land preparation. When you're doing conventional, you have to plough the land. You can hardly plough more than 1 acre a day. But ripping or subsoiling, you can do 4 acres a day. And also weeding. People here who are doing conventional, they weed 3 times in a season, and it's very costly because it has to be done manually. Some of the challenges that normally affect the smooth running of conservation agriculture is the weed management. If you fail in managing weed properly, you may end up getting no crop at all. In this case here now, you may hardly believe that there was a crop of maize here. You may think that this farmer only planted blackjack, but that's not the case. He didn't do herbicide application timely. Even though mulching material acts as a breeding place for pests and some of the diseases, there is a way you can move out of that problem, and it's simply by practicing crop rotation, because you'll find that different crops are invaded by different pests or diseases. I take conservation agriculture as a journey. You have to have a lot of patience. You cannot realize full benefits of conservation agriculture in 1 or 2 seasons. As you proceed to the 2nd, 3rd and 4th year, yields will be going upwards and inputs will be going downwards. So you'll be minimizing the costs while increasing the yield. Once it's fully established, it will just be a matter of maintaining it. There was a time when we could not even be assured of what we'd eat in the evening, so it was a from hand to mouth kind of life. But now we can see a bright future, and everybody in the family is happy about it.
The family is happy about it.
Conservation agriculture has good potential to spread to dry environments due to its ability to save water, though the major challenge here is to grow sufficient vegetation to provide soil cover and mulching material. Conservation agriculture has been proven to work in a variety of agroecological zones and farming systems, such as high or low rainfall areas, degraded soils, multiple cropping systems, and systems with labor shortages. Increased and reliable crop yields and reduced labor input are the main direct benefits of conservation agriculture, improving households' food security and resilience to a variable climate.